Hey, you listen to me, Ash Stafford, and this is Blue Pigment Podcast. Today, I'll be doing an interview with Nick Dunn. He is ex-Parachute Regiment, Special Forces Support Group, ex-Maritime Security, and the Maritime Security job led him to be arrested in India and put in an Indian jail for 4 years. And we're going to get the story out of him. His time in India, when he was arrested, there wasn't a crime, and I want to get out the full picture from Nick and find out why he was wrongfully imprisoned and how he dealt with being wrongfully imprisoned for so long.
My heart is truly shattered, and they're no relation to me. I'm begging everyone for help to set these brave men free. Locked away in an Indian jail in squalor, filth and pain. How much more can they take, and what's that government got to gain? Keeping them imprisoned for a crime they did not commit. No proper food or water, just a boiling, stinking pit. Temperatures in the 40s, electric cuts and water droughts, holes in the ground for a toilet, with many a sickness bout. The prisons in Britain are humane compared to this living hell. No one can know the nightmares or the stories they can tell. I beg anyone who reads this to scream and shout and yell. Bring the Chennai Six home, bring them home, safe and well. God only knows they're suffering, and it's our government to blame. These lads should have been home long ago. They should hang their heads in shame. Shame on a government who have done nothing to secure their release. What hold does India have over them? Are they afraid to break the peace? Are they afraid of any backlash? Well, rubbish is all I can say. Just keep doling out the millions while the Chennai Six must pay. Their families are waiting, their sorrow quite visible to see. Sorrow is all around them, how devastating this all must be. So please write to MPs and ministers, show them how much the UK care, because God forbid, dear friends, it could be any of us out there. Love and prayers sent to the Chennai Six, Diane Bradley, March 2017.
Hello all, welcome to episode 31, part 1. This episode 31, I have decided to break it down into 2 parts. I'm talking to you now retrospectively, in hindsight of the recording that I did with Nick Dunn. It was a long discussion. The first half of the discussion was his experiences in India. And so I've put all of that into part 1. At the second half of our discussion was more to do with Nick's mental health. And because of the topic and the depth in which Nick delved into, I've decided to put it as a separate part. So episode 31, part 2. And the reason I've done that is because of the depth in which Nick goes into. It's probably worth me mentioning that it could be a trigger to somebody out there. And if anyone is suffering from a mental health condition, that it's possibly not ideal for you to listen to this, especially if you're easily triggered with suicidal type discussions. Other things I want to note is there are charities and organizations out there that are helpful if you are feeling that in this way, such as mind.org, and many other charities and organizations in which you can look into. So part 1 is Nick Dunn's experiences as a prisoner in India, and part 2 is the mental impact that had on Nick.
Hello everyone, you're listening to Blue Pigment Podcast. If you want to become a patron of this show, please go to patreon.com/Blue Pigment.
I'll go grab my book so it shows people, unless you've got one.
This one?
Oh, well, there you go then. I'll just get you to do it. Wait, look at that.
It's magic.
Yeah, magic. Just by magic.
I've just been on Amazon to have a look. You got 250 reviews. That's fucking loads.
Yeah. I know. Some of them reviews, obviously, you're going to get
trolls.
The idiot. Yeah, and I looked at all the other people who've got books, and they get the same. And I don't take them to heart. I look at them and laugh, because I think, well, you haven't read me book, so how can you waffle that? And it's funny because one guy gave us a 5-star, but yet calls us a traitor, because from where I am, I should support Newcastle, but I support Man United. But what they don't realise is one of Man United's greatest players, Bobby Charlton, comes from where I come from. But he still gave us a 5-star. So I'm happier with that. But like, some of the people are just like,
yeah, I saw one that was like, it's like, oh, you just feel sorry for yourself. It's like, you're fucking damn right. You got wrongfully imprisoned. Why wouldn't you?
I think people don't realise I came home with no money.
Yeah,
I got offered £10 compensation.
I didn't realise that when I spoke to you last and you were telling the story, and I would have thought that you would have got some sort of payout from someone somewhere. That's disgusting.
No, and I think this is what people are not aware of.
Mate, you've been through the mill, mate.
Well, people have been through a lot worse, but different circumstances. I've got my own story. I've got my own experiences.
Strong-minded. All right, Nick, let me roll into the introduction. All right, hello everyone. I'm joined today by Nick Dunn. He is a former or ex-paratrooper, member of the Special Forces Support Group. He's also ex-Maritime Security, and that job actually led him on to being wrongfully arrested and being one of the Chennai Six, which we'll cover up in more detail in a moment. Now he is an author and a public speaker, and his book, which is called Surviving Hell, is about his experiences, his life experiences, and especially going through being in the Indian jail. If you want to pick this up, you can get it on Amazon today on a Kindle for £6.79, or a hard copy is £14.17. The reviews on Amazon are fantastic. He's got 250 reviews on there, and on an average, that leaves him still within like 5-star reviews. Nick, pleasure to have you on. How are you today?
I'm good. I just hope my football team wins today. But yeah, it's a good weekend. Just a nice, chilled, relaxed.
So I want to start off with the sort of public speaking type stuff that you do, and your experiences as being one of the Chennai Six. Do you want to kick us off with explaining to anyone that may not understand what happened to you, and just go through?
Yeah, for those who may be unaware of the whole story, or they may have heard bits but still a bit unsure, October 2013, me and 34 of our personnel on our client vessel, the Seaman Gardo Hio, we were apprehended by the Indian Coast Guard and taken in for questioning. We didn't realise what was going on. We were kept in the dark pretty much throughout our time at port. But as the days went by, you do start and think, something's not right here. I am fully aware, and anyone who has worked in private security knows certain countries, to get a green tick in the box, you may have to pay a few pennies now and again. So we know corruption exists. It's something that we can't deny. I do believe now it was a seizure exercise. We were sold down the river. Why? We do not know. But we hadn't committed any crime whatsoever. There was a cyclone nearby which made the sea state pretty dangerous, and under maritime law you can seek shelter in a neighbouring country. That neighbouring country was India. However, they took it upon themselves to create a mountain out of a molehill.
So Nick,
yes.
So if we try and just put it simply, you're in a maritime security job where you're just doing your job. You just happen to be on duty in that role at that time. The waters in the sea in the international waters was rough, and under maritime security law or in maritime law, you can seek shelter in a neighboring country. That happened to be India. The Indians, for whatever reason, came aboard your vessel and found a reason they deemed, whatever reason they thought was necessary to seize.
They put 2 and 2 together and come up with 10, basically.
So from then, they've arrested you. They've taken you to the mainland. Yeah. Do they give you a trial or anything like that?
Oh, no. Well, we're in port. Different organisations are going, well, there's nothing to be had here. There's nothing to be had here. And the local boys are starting to look a bit embarrassed now. So
was it because you had weapons? Because obviously in international water, you're allowed weapons.
But the weapons were stored away, locked, and 2 people could have access to that room. The captain, because the captain's got overall responsibility of the vessel, and the tactical deployment officer, the guy who is in charge of the security detail. They're the only 2 people that can just go in and out of that room. All the weapons were locked away in pelly boxes. We were showing all the documentation. They just weren't interested. They had us, and they're going to make an example of us. At the time, you're not aware of this. And then they removed the weapons, and then that's when I think the penny dropped. Where gone the days of just giving a little backhander, be on your way. They've removed all the weapons from this vessel, and I think basically the shit's going to hit the fan now. And then on the morning of the 18th of October 2013, you could say that's day 1 of the 4-year nightmare, even though we were brought to port on the 12th. When we left that vessel on the 18th, that's when it officially started, you can more or less say. Because whilst we were still on our vessel, we were still safe. Nothing bad was happening. Weapons are weapons. They've kept them and just sent us on the way. We wouldn't have been bothered.
So how much jail time did the other nationality? So the 6 from the Shanghai Six were the British nationality. British, and
14 Estonians, 3 Ukrainians, 12 Indians. We all went to prison together. We all left.
Okay.
Yes. But the Indians they stayed in Palamcotti. They didn't move up to Chennai. We don't know why, but we went to 3 different prisons in our time in 4 years. The first ever prison we got sent to was Palamcotti, when they removed us off the vessel, where we had to say goodbye to families. I rang my family. That was the last time I ever spoke to my mum before she suffered a double aneurysm. And then my sister rang us back because it was like 4:30, nearly 4 o'clock in the morning UK time when we were getting removed off the vessel. So with a time difference, my family were asleep, but not asleep, if you know what I mean. And then as soon as my sister rung us back, I didn't say, "Oh, I'll miss you, I'll speak." I went, "The shit's hit the fan, get the embassy, speak to you later." That's how it changed like that. So we got whisked off, blue lights and everything, Indian, it was like 2 police guards to 1 person. There's 35 of us and double amount. So you can imagine the buses overcrowded, weapon barrels going all over the shop. And I'm thinking, I don't know the state of these weapons. I don't trust these clowns. I'm probably not going to survive before getting out of this port, because we'll hit a bump and a round will go off or something daft like that. So you were always kind of on edge, and then you've got the media flying by, hanging out their cars, bloody cameras like that, and you're just thinking, this is something that you see on the news, not ever think you'd be involved in it, you know what I mean? It was so surreal. It was like, I know stuff like this this happens around the world. I'm fully aware of it. That's why I'm in this industry in the first place. Not obviously to get arrested, but to work on the maritime role as anti-piracy officers. But to be arrested for a crime you've never committed, how do you comprehend that? How do you digest that? How do you take it in? Thinking, I've now been arrested. I don't know when I'm next going to see my family. I don't know when I'm next going to be out. So you do start and worry slightly, but you've got to keep a clean head. You've got to remain professional. And as being ex-military and being in Iraq or Afghanistan, there's one thing you've got to do, and that's take your family and thoughts when you're on the operation and put them to one side, because if you let them cloud your judgment, you could make mistakes, and mistakes can cost lives. And we all know that. We've all been to Afghan, we've all been to Iraq. But yes, times are a little bit different in this circumstances. We don't believe anyone's going to die, but we don't know. But freedom, losing your freedom as an innocent person is pretty much the same thing in my eyes. You're dead. You feel dead inside, and it takes a lot to get through it.
So what point did you go from thinking, this will get ironed out, this will get ironed out, this will get squashed, to thinking, this is injustice. I'm now being held, as in immeasurable amount of time. You don't know how long you're going to be held for. At what point did it go from this will all get sorted out in your mind to this isn't getting any better?
Initially, when they removed the weapons off the ship, that's when I thought, something's not right here. Then little rumours were saying, oh, maybe the documentation's not correct. However, we were so far bloody wrong there. Documentation was absolutely correct. So you now start and think, are we being used as political pawns here? You start and think little things, and you swipe them away, and you think, no, man, that can't be right. But like I say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. If we knew a lot of stuff further down the field at the time that we needed, things could have worked out differently. If the captain wasn't a chopper and shouted at the police and didn't lock himself in his cabin, would that have made a difference? People might argue and say, yes, it could have made a difference. With him doing that, he's pissed the police officers up. And I personally believe he could have been, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. This was happening. This was happening regardless of the captain's actions. This was happening. We were going to be made an example of, and they did it. They made an example of us. Big time. However, justice prevails eventually. But it took 4 years. Yes, it's only 4 years. People can argue and go, well, Nick, there's loads of people around the world that have done far greater time and they were found not guilty. I said, yeah, I understand that.
That's their gripe that's their problem. That's their argument to uphold and to have.
Exactly. We literally done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
We complied. We showed everything, and it just counted for nothing. The company just left on our arse. We were fighting this on our own, and we had to have backup. So we get in touch with our families via the embassy and say, look, we need help big time. We need to get our families to rally up and get the government and say, look, India, come on, what's going on with these people? Now, I thought we were friends. We can do trade deals without these people being involved. Obviously, that wasn't the case. It was just a nightmare. There was days, weeks, months where you'd be sat going, what's going on? Got no information. You had to deal with, you know, prison life. Like, I've never been in a UK prison, but I tell you what, a UK prison to what we were in is like the Hilton. I shit you not. If you gave any of our prisoners in the UK the chance to be in my prison, they'd be crying for ma'am. Why? Because I was. And I'm not Mr. Tough Guy, but I've probably done more stuff than what they've ever done. They may have mugged little old granny for fish and chips or being a drug dealer or acting the Mr. Tough Guy, but we'll see how tough you are when you've literally got nothing. 2 sheets in a dog bowl, having to cook your own food. You've got the heat conditions, sanitation, communication. You've got to learn all that. You've got to build up, help me, help you, keep people at arm's length, build a rapport with certain criminals. You've got to now think, this is prison life here. What I believe is the wrong thing. I've got to think, this is prison life. And I'm doing that to survive. It's all about survival techniques. It's a dangerous world, prison life. There was loads of fights. We were going up to the kitchen. Blokes were getting stones thrown at them. Bricks. A brick hit one of the lads on the back of the head. We're past one of the compounds. One of the Indians has got his throat slit in clarets going all over. He's screaming. And you're thinking, where's the prison guards? You're just a number. No interest. There'd be pissing everywhere. It was stinking. Piss and shit. I shit you not. It was vile. Cats and rats pissing on the vegetables because they just lay them on the floor. You've got to deal with the sanitation. We got ill. I think it was food poisoning or just the heat. It just went through like a hot knife through butter. I felt I was about to die. I pissed and shit myself and was sick, and I was laughing and crying for my mum, and I was thinking, I'm going to fucking die here. You know what I mean? That's the point of what I'm trying to make. It was hard. Prison life where I had to endure to UK prison life is worlds apart. They'd be crying for human rights in our prison. My sister communicated with Amnesty International, the world international organisation for the obvious. What did they turn around and say to my sister? Where's your brother? India. Oh, right. We can't do nothing there. Why? You're a human rights organizer. Yeah, but it's India. There's no human rights in India. I don't care what anyone says. They'll cry about human rights if they're locked up in a country where there is human rights. Doesn't count for shit in their own country. I've been there. I've seen how they deal with their own people. They don't care. No wonder half of them make a good choice and come and leave India to go to different countries around the world because it's so corrupt. It's a police state. And you've got to have your wits about you. And that's what we did. We're trying to have our wits about us. But we had to fight our case from inside the prison because how could we rely on our family? At one point, there was apparently a rumour went through the whole of the families that the weapons weren't legitimate. The families were running around like headless chickens and we're in prison going, who the fuck's tell the families this? So you can understand where the frustration where we were coming from. How can you fight your case from inside prison? Well, this is what we had to do. So when we got bail in April 2014, so we got locked up in October 2013, we got bail in 2014, April. So we've spent our first Christmas and New Year in prison. I spent my birthday, which is in March. And that's when my sister first came out to see me. And that's, how I was told about my mum, which was quite devastating, because getting told in a letter that your mum's in a hospital bed 5 days before Christmas is very, very heartbreaking, especially when I was like a Cheshire cat, because I remember one of the guys, he had a visit and the embassy girls told him to stay behind. They did the same with me. So I'm like sat there in front of the embassy like a Cheshire cat thinking, oh, I've got a family visit. And then that face changes and, Nick, can you read this, please? And when a letter and words jump out at you, that's what that letter was. And I was like, this can't be right. This can't be right. My mum, I'm halfway fucking on the other side of the world in a prison. My mum's in a hospital bed with tubes coming out of her because her brain's decided to go, you know what, I've had enough. But fortunately, our brain went into standby mode because my sister wasn't aware of aneurysms. I was. It's basically the motherboard going, bye. And I said to my sister, have a look at how many people recover from an aneurysm. She says, not very many. I said, yeah, not very many, because you're not meant to. When you have an aneurysm, your body more or less says that's a shutdown mode. So there's something in my mum, very powerful. She didn't want to leave her baby boy in an Indian shithole. So she kept that bit of energy and fight to survive. And if she can survive that, I can survive a fucking prison. So there's the mum-son connection per se. But at the time, you don't. I'm leaving that prison jailer's office. I've got to walk nearly a mile to my compound in a tunnel vision. The red mist's coming down. I've got little Indians screaming abuse at us. How do I know they were shouting abuse? Well, you can tell with the tone and the odd white word chucked in. Getting stones thrown at you. These stones made fuck all difference to me. I was hurting beyond what a stone could do. But I'm trying to battle this red mist, because if I lost it, that would be it. I would create dramas for the other guys and I might not be here today. So I had some resilience there. Damn right, bloody hard, I tell you. So I got finally to the compound, a bit battered and bruised. And then I saw one of the other guys and I just broke down. And he took us away for a walk and I said, I can't do this. My life's crumbled now. I can't do that. And he says, you fucking can. You're a paratrooper. Because he was a paratrooper too. He went, you're a paratrooper. You've gone through worse. And you'll go through this and you'll come out the other end. We're in it together. Mind, we weren't all as a big unit. There was little factions, but people get on with others well and others don't. That's just life. If you're constantly on top of each other, there is going to be arguments. And I'll say this to the end of my days: you could have put two of lifelong's best friends in that situation. I tell you what, they would hate each other right now. Guarantee you. Because when you're on top of each other, different nationalities, different backgrounds, different languages. You know, you've got Estonians, Russian Estonians, Ukrainians, British. There's going to be arguments. So that did happen.
Tell us about the scarier things, like what, being in jail. The thought of being in jail is scary enough as it is, but what was the scarier things that were going on that you just
well, the heat, and the psychological things that they did. They used to switch the power off, which stopped the fans. I know they weren't great, but I tell you what, we used to clean and wash the cell out. And I tell you what, when you switch them fans off, you know, when you open an oven and you feel that blast of warm air, that's what it feels like. So these fans, yes, they may only do a little bit of difference, but I tell you what, that difference to us was that. It was great. It was amazing. So when they switched the power off and there was no fans, it felt like you were in a sauna. The flies would be annoying. The pump for the water would be off, so there'd be no water. So once we found out, we had to go and fill all our buckets. So we had loads of buckets of water because our toilet's a hole in the floor. So you've got to flush that away. We cook, we wash our vegetables. So you've got to take into consideration of that. Shower, just a quick rinse. You know, obviously people would take the piss. And, you know, I totally understand, you know. But as with military training, you learn to conserve things, and you take something so small and make it last a lot long. You know, that's how we learn things in the army, and that's how grateful I am going into that situation, knowing I've got a bit of military background, because if I didn't, I would have found it a lot harder. See, when you're in the military and you can relate just like anyone else, you assess the situation. And it makes us laugh when you got fucking choppers who write silly reviews on your book saying, well, he's forever going on his military. And I'm thinking, well, I don't do it, but I'm breaking the story down. I'm explaining how my coping mechanisms were. So if someone was to find themselves in some sort of a similar situation, yes, okay, you may not be a military personnel, but if you would adapt these things in life, like assessing the situation, taking the step back, don't just go into the corner of a room and shaking and crying for mommy and daddy, because they're not going to come and save you. You've got to put your big boy pants on and you've got to deal with it yourself. And that's what we had to do. When that cell door shuts at night and the lights go off, then you can cry for mommy and dad, because I fucking did it. So you can act the big man, but when that cell door shuts on an evening and you hear the metal keys clanking and locking, that is reality. And that's a sound I will never forget. It puts the shivers down my spine, and that makes you feel very vulnerable. And I tell you what, everything that you've done in your life, in family, comes flooding back. And every day that happened, there was that tumbleweed, eerie silence amongst the guys in the cell. And I'm the kind of dickhead who hates fucking silence. And I'm like, is it time to fucking say something now? So I was always the one going, right then, it could be worse. And they'll be like, fuck off, you dick. You know what I mean? Well, that's the military. We're laughing in the face of adversity. We laugh things off. It's a coping mechanism. And it's hiding the fact of you hurting, joking things off. And I think a lot of people didn't like me being in that situation. But that's how I coped with it. Do you not think I realised the situation that we're in? Do you not think I cried for my family? Do you not think I was hurting? But if you constantly have that mindset, you're not going to get by day to day to day. You're going to fester in your own shit, your own thoughts, your own mind, and you're going to self-combust. You're going to implode. So you've got to adjust. You've got to get on with prison life. You've got to make friends. We got on with the Nigerians. Yes, some of them were gangbangers. Some of them were fucking drug dealers. So fucking what? We played football with them. Whoop-de-doo. We had a laugh with them.
This is one of the things I've said on a previous podcast is about people wearing masks and having to wear different masks to survive in certain situations, and putting on a mask to make sure that you fit into a certain group of people or demographic. One of my questions was going to be, where did you find joy? What did you find, or what did you have to do to bring joy to yourself in that situation for 4 years?
Oh, there was loads of stuff, man. You go back to basics. Battleships were, I got some Uno cards sent in. So we played Uno with bloody hangman, cake eating competition. Obviously I was the cake eater, right? Slice, there was a shop at the prison, so there was a pack of cake in individual slices. So they were like, Nick, how many cake slices can you fit in without? And I was like, come on, let's go. And then I just spurted all over the cell, and everyone's laughing. And we only used our cell toilet after 6 o'clock when we got locked up, because there was outside ones, and it's, you know, so because everyone's got really low osmosis because of the heat, and our food that we cook would be mainly like a stew. So you can imagine going to the toilet and you're laughing on because you're putting the tap on to try and mask the sound, but you can't. So we're all like big kids. We're all laughing and joking at people having a shit and farting on. And if you didn't have that military background, I guarantee you'd be, oh, you're so disgusting and all. And I'm thinking, shut up, man, you got it. So I'm glad I was in a group with ex-military guys. That made it 10 times easier.
So if somebody was going to find themselves in a similar position to you, what advice would you give them? Like, what would you give them to keep them going and drive them on to go through the experiences you experienced?
To go in to the situation and assess your surroundings. Don't just sulk in the corner. You've got to keep that. Because once the health of your mind goes, you're fucked. You've got to do everything you can while this is still healthy. So like going into your prison cell, when we've got your bed sheets, and go, right, where should I stay? Right. I don't want to be too close to the toilet, but I don't want to be too far away from the toilet. So, right, I'll go in the corner there. Then you try and make things a little bit homely with whatever possessions you've got at the time, which practically was nothing. And then learn about your surroundings. We had to wait for the next day because we turned up in prison in the nighttime. So we were just bundled in a cell, and then the next day you get unlocked and you're like, wow. But the heat hits you first. You're like, oh, definitely not in the UK now. So it's like just having a healthy mind and assessing the situation and finding out who of the other prisoners can speak English, which was quite good because some of the Sri Lankans spoke English, the Nigerians can speak English. So we were able to communicate, and a lot of the stuff in the local papers were in more depth than, say, the Hindu. So we would then ask information. What does that say? And then we would kind of cross-reference what the newspapers are saying. So that plays with it in your head. Which do you believe? Well, you got to just tell people that you've got nothing to fear from us. People were asking, can you get with weapons and all that, because that's what they were saying. We were selling weapons, and we're thinking, mate, I'm not selling no weapons, mate. I stop piracy. But it's having a clear mind.
Were there pirates?
There wasn't pirates in prison, no. Unfortunately. Shame. We could have twatted them. But no, like, all in all, assess the situation. Try and deal with things as quickly as you can before the emotions creep up, because you can't blot your family out. Like I said to you, when that cell door locks in an evening, it all comes back. But you've got to mentally feel you're going day to day, not the days feeling like weeks and weeks feel. You don't want to have that mindset, because you'll trap yourself in your own mind and you'll make things harder for yourself. And that can easily happen. It happened to us all, but you've just got to keep it together. Keep it together. Keep it together. I used to go behind the toilets and speak to God. I had one of the Indians say to me, Nick, why are you behind the toilets? It stinks. And it was. You could see all the shite coming out the tube. But I thought, if I go there, no one else would bother us, because I can just take away the smell, and I'm lost with my own thoughts. And I'm not a religious person, but I think at the time of need, I wanted answers. And I got no answers. So then I put it down to, is we all go through a life test in life. This is mine.
Yeah. So you mentioned about the noise of the cell doors closing, in that noise stick with you forever. What other sort of like triggers or things that, if you smell a certain smell or see a certain thing that sort of reminds you of the worst times?
Well, for anyone who might think, Nick, have you boycotted Indian food? No. I like Indian food. I just prefer Chinese. So the Indian food, that's not a trigger. In proper Indian food, not the Indian food you get from the UK. But I mean, I was lucky to experience proper Indian food, and it is different, far different. It's far nicer. To be honest, apart from the prison cells, the triggers, I wouldn't call them triggers. They're more like reminders of how fortunate I am, how lucky I am. But not a lot, really. It was the prison door. That was the main thing. And if you ever find like you're not in control of your life, there's another one, because I wasn't. The only thing I was in control of was my health, and that was deteriorating, and my mind. So if I kept that together, my body would, fester. And I tried to keep a good sanitation, health, like what we learn in the army. No point letting your feet go to shit, because a soldier with no feet and a shit weapon is not a soldier. They're the two things you need to look after. And okay, fair enough, you don't need to look after a weapon in prison or your feet as such in prison, but that's the most important thing. Look after that. Do everything while you've got a healthy mind.
Yeah.
Don't deteriorate first.
So since you've been back in the UK, 4 years now, what was the initial sort of home welcoming for you? Was it a big piss up? Obviously, COVID wasn't an issue back then, so
no. Like, I left India, got to Dubai, and anyone who's been to Dubai, you can get an internet signal. Nick couldn't. It's like everyone had told Dubai Airport, do not let his phone connect. It's unbelievable. I was hugging an Americana because I was shattered. I had not slept for nearly a week. Like, I left the prison and I stayed at the Radisson Blu, which was near the embassy. And I had my partner come over and my sister come over. But going from a thin, tiny mattress in a prison to a plush bed in a hotel was horrible. I felt like sleeping on the floor. People are like, Nick, how? You get used to it. Adapt and overcome. But I couldn't feel comfortable in my bed, even though I had a beautiful naked woman next to us. I was just like, I just wanted to get home. I was just mentally cabbaged. I was like, get me home, please. So I was like so tired. Going through the proceedings, I had to wait 6 hours in Dubai. I was hanging out for then a 7-hour flight. And I thank Emirates from the bottom of my heart. They assigned me my own trolley dolly. Made it low key, but everyone was trying to get her attention. She was just fobbing them off. But it was great because the people on that plane, a lot of them recognised us because I looked like A, bag of shit. B, I hadn't been on a plane in 4 years. My eyes was going all over. And I looked through the place, basically. But, when some people, you lock eyes and they're like, mouth and welcome home and, I felt really happy that people gave me the time to, just be by myself, and they knew what was waiting for me to obviously see my family. But I wasn't aware of what was happening at the airport. I have no idea. The airport was saying, do you want to just meet in a small room? Because to deal with your mum, I said no. People have supported me. I want to show them. I want to come through that airport properly. I want to say my thank you to people who supported me around the world and around the UK. And it gives people who are my friends and family and all that time to see me as well. I don't want to be just discarded and then out the back door. No, definitely not. This is an international miscarriage of justice. I want the world to know that innocent men are now free. That's powerful. How it was.
That's powerful. Yeah. Does the fight go on? Is there still any sort of challenges with the injustice?
That was the end of the whole judicial part, me landing in the UK. It was just an end of a chapter. The fight still going on, but it's a different fight. I'm not fighting against an organisation. I'm fighting against my own bloody self. My own demons. That's what I'm fighting against now. Some days are great, some days are not. But we deal with it. But like coming home was magical. Every day I dreamt of me coming home and how it was going to be. It was always different, apart from one thing. When you're coming into the airspace and the captain says, get back to your seats, buckle up, we're coming into land. Words to that effect. And the good thing is, I was like piling in. And then once he said that, it's like a new battery had been put in me. I was full of beans. I was alert, everything. And when the plane comes in to Newcastle, the way it flies around near my town. So I'm looking out at the window and I can see certain parts of close to where I live, and my heart starts going. And I'm like, and then the trolley dolly goes, do you want to, when you will land, do you want to stay behind? And I went, okay. Everyone gets off the plane. I'm the last. Captain shakes my hand, says, welcome back. I stand at that door and I take a breath of crisp English December air, and I tell you what, my nose has never smelt something so priceless, clean air. Honestly, my lungs were having a fit. They were excited because I've smelt piss and shit for 4 years. And that's not me being nasty. That's the truth. And I walked down the steps and I nearly choked because I stood there clapping, welcome home, Nick, and I only fell down the freaking steps. That would have gone down well. Because little did I know, the buses sat with everyone on the bloody plane waiting on me. That's how long I've been before I've been on an aeroplane, to get on the plane, off the plane, on the bus, to just go there, because they can't let you walk anymore for health and safety reasons. And I get on the bus, I go, sorry, I've like kept you waiting. And they're like, it's all right, don't worry. And then we're going to the main building and I get taken away by one of the airport staff while everyone's like heedless chickens, and my bag is by the carousel. The carousel's not even started, but my bag is there. And I thank Newcastle baggage handler staff. Thank you so much. They must have jumped on that bloody plane and went, right, where's Nick Dunn's bag? Look for a scruffy looking purple thing. That'll be his. And yeah, I go past security, go past customs, and I was thinking, damn, I could have brought loads of shit back. I could have brought loads of tabs back. But I wasn't thinking, I just want to get home. And then it got to the point where the airport staff lady went, this is a journey you can only do yourself. And I tell you what, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. People think, well, how's the hardest thing you've done in your life? It should be the easiest. I said, but when you've been waiting for something for 4 years to do, and you don't know what's on the other side of that door, but you've got to see your mum for the first time, and you don't know what she's like because you've just seen her on Skype and stuff like that, but you're getting to see her in person. And I tell you what, it fucks you up. It shits. I was shitting myself. As much as I was happy, I was shitting myself at the same time. And I'm stood at these doors and I'm like, I can't do it. Give me a Hercules. Give me a parachute. I'll hurl out that door. No Spider-Man, no qualms. I'm at that door. Green light, boom. The green light was on and I couldn't move. That's how it felt. And then some bloke siders opened them doors and I saw all the media down the right and I saw my family and people of support, friends down the left. And then they shut and I was like, whew. Now I know what it's like. So I go to compose myself. I go, right, here we go. I go to stop. I go to start walking. I stop again and I'm like, shit, I can't do it. There's another guy comes and you kind of see me following the guy on the video, but he opens the door and I see me sister and my dad talking, and my dad's, he notices, he goes, he's there. And then when you see the video of me and my sister, like two magnets just come together. And honestly, if that doesn't trigger anyone's emotions, I don't know what is. Because I tell you what, that was the most happiest day of my life. And yes, it happened 4 years ago. it feels like yesterday still to me, because certain memories you cling on to because they keep you strong, they keep you going. And I know it was the end. I walked out that prison with my head held high, my hair long, with pride intact. They could have beat me to a pulp. They would never, ever destroy my pride. But it was never over till I touched down at Newcastle Airport, for me. That's when I can say that part of my life is over. It's a new beginning. It's a new chapter in my life. Let's take the bull. Let's take the bull horns and then just ride with it and see what happens.
So at this point in the recording, I decided it might be a time to take a short intermission and a short break. So at the beginning of this episode, I did say that this episode was broken down into two parts: Nick's experience, part one, and Nick's mental impact in part two. So if you've enjoyed listening to what Nick's had to say so far, and you want to listen to the mental implications and the stresses and strains of which Nick has been through since then, please stay tuned for part two. But again, please be warned that if you are triggered by discussions and topics of suicide, then this part of the episode may not be for you. But yeah, please stay tuned, and coming up soon, episode 31, part 2.
You're listening to Blue Pigment Podcast, sponsored by Huscarl. Go to huscarl.co.uk to find yourself some amazing printouts, stickers, and t-shirts. Use the discount code BluePigment to follow the you, not the fallen. The opinions or views expressed on this podcast are solely of my own or the guests, and do not represent the opinions or views of anybody else or the Ministry of Defence.
Shish kebab, Shawshank Redemption, Chicago! You're out of there!